So in order for us to build a query using a join, we first have to actually join two tables. Now if I look at the two tables, there is something that they both have in common, and that's that they both have city as a table field. So in order to join the two tables together, I'm going to go to the database tools, and I'm going to select relationships because we're going to build a relationship between the two. And when I click it, I get a box that says, which tables do you want to link? So I select attractions and click add, and then city info and click add. Those are my two tables. And all I have to do is take the word city, press it with my mouse key or my mouse button, hold it down and drag it over to the other table where the word city is and let go. And a pop-up button comes up and says, do you want to link city to city? And I say yes. Now you'll actually visually see a link between the two. So once the relationship's been built, we close that and we go back to making a new query. So we go to create, select the query wizard just like we did before, a simple query wizard. And now I'm going to switch first to the attractions table. And I'm going to add attraction, the city, the admission price in euros, and the website. And then I go to the second one. And in this one, I'm just going to select what types of transportation are available. And when I'm finished, you'll see the query shows the British Museum, the city, the admission price, and admission in euros, and the website, which came from the first table, and then the transportation type, which actually came from the second table. And then when I switch to the design view, you can see all the different columns, and there's actually a tab where it shows what information came from which came from which table. And we're showing all of it. So this is a query that is showing information from two tables that have been joined together. That's all you have to demonstrate for the second query. I'm going to kind of modify these columns here so we can kind of read all the information. I'm going to go ahead and add some additional attraction just so you can see what happens when we add more information to a table. So I'm going to go to the attractions table and add the Eiffel Tower. And I'm kind of making this up, but I'm going to say it costs more than 10 euros. And I've put in an address and information about the city, which we're going to use Paris. So once I have that information, I'm going to save it. And I switch to the city info. Now I have no information here on Paris, so let's add some. So I type in Paris. The country is France. And for the purposes of this, let's say we have a subway, taxi, and bus transportation available. Now that it's all filled in, let's first go to the attractions query, our first query. And since the cost of the Eiffel Tower, I put it as more than 10 euros, it doesn't show up. So that would make sense. And sometimes when we look, if the information doesn't show up correctly, we want to always make sure that we refresh the data. So let's look at the second one, the attractions query 1, which is our query using the join. And we still only see the British Museum. So I go to my home tab at the top, and in there I'll see refresh all. And when I click it, the Eiffel Tower now shows up as inside the second query. And that is because it's in Paris. There's information in the city info about Paris, and so it pulls all that information into this query. Now that we've completed the two tables and the queries, let's complete the last part, which is to make a report. I'm going to go ahead and modify the query name because I don't want it to just look like the other one, attractions query 1. So let's go ahead and rename it to join query. That way it's really clear which is the query that uses the join between the two tables. I'm now ready to make my report. So whichever item I have selected in the left-hand column from either tables or query, that's what's going to be used to generate the report. So I just clicked report and I happen to have the join query selected. So any information from the join query is what's going to appear in the report. And I can look at it from both the data view and then from the design view. The design view is real critical for a report that's actually going to be how you control how it looks. So let's not do the join query. I'm going to cancel that. And let's instead build a report from the attractions. So I've got attractions selected, and I click report, and there's the attractions report. Now this is pretty simple. It doesn't exactly have information I want, or it may have too much information. So let's make some modifications to it. First, I can't quite read all the information at the bottom, so you can just drag the different fields and expand them and make them smaller if you need to. And I want to go ahead and change the image. So I'm going to delete that boring journal book that comes up with the report. And instead, I'm going to go get my own image to put in here for the attractions. So first I deleted the old image. And then I go up and I'm going to insert an image. And this image I already have saved in my documents. So let me go find it. And once I find my image and select OK, it just inserts it into the report. Now this one's a little too large, so let's go and resize it. Then I need to move some of these other columns or some of this other information over to the right so that it fits a little better. So let's go ahead and move that. And you can't just move the individual pieces. Sometimes it's easier to use the all group button, which is hanging over here on the top left. So I just select it, click and hold my mouse button down and drag it over to the right. And now you can see my image will show up on the report. And let's go and change view so you can see it. Okay, now I'm going to switch back and I'm going to make a couple other modifications. I don't really want this blue background. It's kind of boring, so let's go ahead and change the background color. That's much brighter. And let's go ahead and change the font on the attractions title. So I just select the font, or select the text that I want to change. And then I just modify it. We'll go with something a little bit more, looks more like attraction. Here's Broadway. We'll use this one. And I'm going to make the font larger. And this is, again, this is something you'll need to do on your report to demonstrate to me that you know how to modify the report. And I really don't want this page 1 of 1 at the bottom, so I'm going to go and delete it. So I find where it is in the report, which if there were more than one page, this information would tell it to put in more pages. I'm going to just delete it because I only have one page, and that's fine. And now I've modified the report, and it's really easy to see. This is a list of the attractions. So I'm going to save this report, and that is the last part of the assignment. So at the end, you'll have demonstrated 2 tables, 2 queries, and 1 report. And if you go back to the original instructions and follow it and make sure that you have all the pieces in, you'll get all the points. I believe it's page 3 or 4 of the assignment has a list of exactly where the points are going to come from, and that's exactly how I'm going to grade it. But please make sure you let me know if you have any questions at all. I can be reached at paul.e.berryman@lonestar.edu, or you can send me a message through Angel. And if you have a question, just specifically state what part it is you're having problems with. For example, if you don't understand what a query is, or if you don't know how to make a join, just say so, and I'll either give you some additional guidance or point you back to either the video or another study guide. But I hope that this video has given you enough information so that all of you can complete the Comprehensive Access Project. Thank you.